Welcome to AI to the Sky podcast, where global AI leaders take off. Hosted by Joseph Vale.
This episode is powered by Rocket AI. WhatsApp bans costing you sales. Rocket AI automates messaging legally with AI. Your competition's already using it. RocketAI.lat.
Hello! Today on AI to the Sky, we welcome a truly unique voice on AI ethics and social impact space. Hao Ji Zhu has built global strategies for the UN, advised governments, and lead campaigns for human rights. Now she's on a mission to make AI fair, responsible, and human centered. Let's find out what drives her. Hao Ji, welcome to our space. How are you?
Thank you, Jose, so much for inviting me here. I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be here today talking about AI. I think we both have a topic that we're really passionate about ethical AI. So yeah, I'm just super excited and ready for our conversation.
Thank you so much. So, Hao Ji, where are you from, or where are you right now? What drives you here to this disrupting world?
Yeah, so I'm kind of everywhere around the globe. I kind of go where my work is, and as you know, my work carries me around the continent. So very fortunately, I've been around in North America, US, where I'm from. I'm right now in China, where my family is from. So I'm kind of, a bridge of the both worlds, and I've been in Europe, in Africa, in Middle East. So I'm just grateful to be here, wherever here is. So what brings me here is, so first of all, I work, as you introduced, I work for the social justice area, where I'm advisor for social justice, where I help organizations in building strategies to bring vision to impact. Because one thing I'm really passionate about is we have a lot of goals, but I'm really interested in to bring these excellent goals into reality. So I help in the design space, strategy roadmaps, that's my forte, and alliance facilitation and research collaboration to help drive concrete impacts. And I've built the Social Justice Hub, which you've seen. It's kind of like a growing space where I hope that more social justice practitioners can join, and this is our space to freely share open about our current challenges, what kind of help we need, facilitate resource exchange, and collectively kind of build this community alliance for joint impact. Another project that I'm currently working on, which brings me here today, is on ethical AI for social justice. We both attended the AI for Good Summit last week, where we witnessed just how transformative and relevant AI is for, across industries. And for me, I think this is a critical moment where I think we need to not pause, but just to ponder upon an existential question, which is
Uh-huh.
what kind of future are we building with AI? Meaning, what is the ethical implication of AI for the humanitarian space, for the human rights space? So I think,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. So I think, when we talk about social justice, it's already so complicated as is. Social justice is everywhere about literally any aspect of reality we have interacting with society. We have justice, inclusion, equity issues. Then on top of that, we're adding on an AI technology, which is going to add even more complications and dimensions to it, and also more opportunities. So for me, I think it's critical that we ponder upon the tool, the amazing tool that we are building. What is the double side of it? So one side, what is the risk that we mitigate it? What is the potential, the creative quality potential that we harvest it for good? So I think the AI for Good Summit title that we both agree is an excellent capture of what we're trying to do with this technology. In peace building, we talk about prevention, and we in
Uh-huh.
humanitarian assistance, we talk about resilience. The point is always about early action, early actively scoping, steering. That's going to, make the work easier as you prepare early on. So I think for AI, it's critical that, it's like a tree. It's really going to blossom, branching out in this moment of juncture that we work on actively shaping um, the 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 human space in AI. Meaning, like, talk about conversation. Is it really is built on a human center right based foundation that making sure it is building a better future for our generation. So that brings me here today, to talk about this important topic.
Yes, yes, as you said, on AI for good, there were many opinions around all over the world, and I think we have to take care of that biases. We have to take care of these disrupting technology that it's racing really fast, and I think we have to take care of that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's more than a thinking exercise. It's really, if I were to say, it's a responsibility. It's individual responsibility that we take part in building something for our future, not just for us, but it's going to be our future for the future generation. So it's a legacy project. Yeah. So I think it's
Yes,
a
you are.
cautionary responsibility that we have to be part of.
Yeah, all of us, we are involved in one way or in another, but okay. So, what are the biggest ethical risks you see today in the rapid AI adoption for AI by governments and corporations, and what should leaders be urgently addressing?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very critical question in this ethical AI for social justice space. I think the prime risk, one of the biggest risks that I worry about is AI, instead of using it for good, it's used to amplify existing disparities and inequalities. Um, that goes into the kind of data set that we're using. So it
Mhm.
has to do with data justice, right? So with data, we can ask what data is captured. Often, actually, the most marginalized, like for example, displaced people or those without digital access, they could be invisible in the mainstream data sets. And when we roll out
Yes,
something
sure.
to be global, we should also ask, the question, okay, so it's global, but built based on which culture, which community, which people, to what extent. So it's about data representation again. So this is a question inherently about inclusion and equity. Another question is what labels are being applied, because label is how we teach machines to make decisions, understand and make decisions about reality. It gives meaning behind words and predictably assign whatever meaning goes associated with it. But unfortunately, labels are not produced in a vacuum, right? They carry the political, historical, and cultural weight behind it. It reflects the values, assumptions, and biases of the people and systems that creates them. For example, in policing, data could carry racial profiling. Demographics could be used to influence decisions on treatment in healthcare. And in the case of education, it could affect how a student is perceived in terms of how likely he or she is going to succeed and the placement and the support around it. So we have to be very cautious about labeling. Actually, instead of asking what labels are being applied, what we're really asking is whose truth does the system reflect, right? It's always about a narrative.
Oh,
So whose narrative is it? Um, so so perhaps we could say that data set reflect the power dynamics of our current social political context. And the risk is that those dynamics, it could be infiltrated into our machine learning outputs, thereby manifested as algorithmic biases, right? So
yeah.
I think, but then it's going to play such a big difference in our lives to decide who gets the job, for example, who gets the loan, is it approved, and who gets the opportunity or none at all. And we have to be very cautious about if data itself is injustice, then AI using these data can further cement these injustice into automated decisions disguised as objectivity. This is a very dangerous notion. I think we should all keep us asleep at night. I do. I think about, okay, this is the future and this is the risk. It's very alarming to us, right? Um, so for social justice, we should be asking who defines the categories, who gets to be included, right? Everybody, who gets what gets
Yeah.
measured and what get left out, and how do we decide priorities? So why and who have a say in it, right? And how do we know what is being said about it? So it is precisely why transparency, continuous auditing for fairness, building inclusive data sets, and have accountable ethical governance are so important. Even with the predict tool, we cannot forget about individual needs, right? Because at the end of the day, we are so beautifully different. Even with data,
Yeah.
that we should always remember there is an individual touch to it, the beauty of humanity. So yeah, back to again the question. This is the caution around inherent bias is one huge risk that I think we should be very careful about and build mitigation measures around it and actively work to promote what is just and what is good data usages. So that's the first area. And I think the second one is about blind deployment at scale. We talk a lot, including last week in the AI for Good Summit, on little do we know what kind of risks that we potentially are dealing with AI. The short term, the long term. How do we know down the line what kind of new tool in 10 years, or I don't know, 100 years, what will it make an impact on human society? Then at that point, it's for my future generation, right? So it's not just a responsibility for us now, but it's about the future we want to build. So we need to be careful and laying good foundation at now. That's why I think it's critical moment of now, as this trajectory is really expanding rapidly, to making sure we guide it intentionally towards the right direction. Next is about opacity and unaccountability, but I already talked about it when I talk about data sets, because we cannot contest if we are dealing with a system that we do not know what's it's using for decision, if we do not know how it's made and what's the reason behind it. So if I were to apply and I would say, oh, I'm sorry, you're not a qualified candidate, how do I know what decisions made behind it and what data is being used? Am I being labeled unjustly? How do I know it? So again, it's vital rolling out massive data and massive systems to help us make decisions quickly, that we have to making sure these are the right decisions. And if not, then we have to have measures to go about it. How do we use human oversight to correct them, right? And including feedback from those who are supposed to serve. Like if someone denied of an opportunity, they should have a voice to say why not. Then they should be able to find out what is behind. So the transparency is so important, and accountability. And I think as much as we talk about efficiency, optimization, say that word 3 times again, we always have to remember that we are human, right? We are human. It's not just
Yeah.
machine.
Yes.
It's just this cold feeling of everything machine. What is it, like the Matrix? So we have to have, like, just remember it's a human. It's about human dignity. It's about individual differences. It's about a tool that serves humanity, not replacing humanity, right? It's about real connection. So yeah, we talk about, don't get caught up behind the screen. Get to know people and go out about, have real experiences, have real interaction with communities, real cultural exchanges. And that's at the end of the day, we talk about social cohesion, building trust, different languages that, speaks to alliances across sectors. That's what counts, the real connections, right? And that will help us to capture better data and help us better detect errors in a human oversight and redress. So I think we also should be cautious about new form of economic exploitation. That's how data is being used when it manipulates customers, target the micro targeting on the purchasing decisions. So I think yeah, again, it's about ethically using these data for good. And there's also the issue of privacy. So we have to respect people's privacy, how these data collected about individual preferences are being used and hold. Um, Another risk that I think is a huge one, we're already seeing its effect, is about deepfakes, disinformation, about these false narratives that's maliciously generated, um, that erodes social cohesion, that speaks into building fragmentation, that erodes the truth. And so I think that's a huge risk.
On your strength, one of them is building alliances between very different sectors, public, private, NGOs, and communities. In your experience, what is the hardest part about aligning their goals on and how AI can be a tool for bridging those gaps?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jose. I really appreciate the question because building alliances is at the heart of what I do, and I think it's absolutely critical for making meaningful and sustainable impact. I recently also wrote an article about it. I call it the missing middle, why even the boldest visions fail without this crucial link. Which for the audience who are curious, welcome to check out. See my LinkedIn to search my name. So in my experience working across sectors, across different geographical areas and topics and issues, including the UN, where I get the fortune of interacting with so many diverse stakeholders, one of the biggest challenges, I will not say one because there's just so many different things we talk about. One of the biggest challenges I observed standing in the way of building bridges is we are mapping different voices and different worldviews and different measures of value across board. So it's kind of like we're building a platform where we are based off different foundations. So
Uh-huh.
each sector, this might be oversimplifying, but just to make a point, each sector speak different their own language, operates at their own timeline, have their own guidelines, is motivated by their own purposes. Um, for example, government, when we talk about stability, compliance, it's a state. It has to regulate itself to be, in a kind of a structured way. Um,
Mhm.
and corporations focus on scalability. We're talking about uh, a return on investment. We talk about profits, economical, growth, and so and the community. We talk about people-centered. We're talking about diversity, for example, lived experiences, human connection, trust building. So these different anchors, different anchors that shows different, ways that each sector is organized. Although again, this is oversimplifying, but just to illustrate a point. So I think building alliances, it's not about talking more. It's not about having more advocacy, but it's really about finding the pivotal points where
Mhm.
it's a point of convergence, right? You find commonalities where it's like in a web, you identify this single point, it kind of builds a thread to this sector, it builds a thread to that sector. So it's those points of convergences where conversations can happen most effectively, where values collide, where we identify the right entry points, space and time, and who and how, and positioning, and find the right method of the communication. So it's a whole art. It's a whole art around it. Without intentionally building with the right frameworks, it could feel frustrated. It could feel like there are frictions. Um, but it's but then I think the good things that we try, not always we have the answer, right? And with evolving landscapes and topics and new actors in play, we don't always know. But then the point is that we always try with good intentions. And I think one point that crossed, uh, that's time tested, that's a good practice, best practices, right? Is you approach it with the point of respect, genuinely not to put agenda before you talk to them. It doesn't matter what kind of label they might carry. Here, we talk about label, but it's about to hear their voices. If you understand, and yeah, so it's about how to build this kind of connective tissues to build collective impact, to build synergies around different actors, including the United Nations. So yeah, again, I welcome people who are interested to check out. I've written about it, and I think I'll write more tips on how to build bridges in the hub. I'll post it as like a free resource for everyone who's interested. So back to AI. I think where AI could be useful when ethically applied, for example, it's a great analytical and research tool. So we can use it in mapping stakeholder landscape. We can, understand, okay, so what is the current trends? Who's the actor? What kind of new policy? What's the new development? For human, we might need a whole team, to build it. You track this, you track that, and then report back in a hub and produce a report. But now with AI, it's such a time efficient, it's such a robust technology that it can do all of these for you. It can analyze the data for you. Amazing amount of information, just boom, a whole second. It produce you a coherent report. Well, you have to edit something, but it's a report. You can really build it
Yeah.
off, to find these beautiful entry points that you can engage to advance the good initiatives. So second, I think it's a great tool to facilitate common understanding, meaning that I've used it. I've seen it's being used on AI can create really great, compelling advocacy or campaign materials, visual or like a high impact punchline, a pitch, whatever you call it. In social media, it can also produce a really
Mhm.
good message that comes across different audiences. It tailors your message for you. That means, we talk about, the capacity gap. Sometimes organization, a lot of times when they have good intentions, but maybe they don't have the capacity, they don't have a writing, or, for example, if you want to reach English audience, they might don't have the language capacity or, but AI can come in that space where it gives you these writing tools, give you these language tools to help you amplify your reach, where you can focus more on the strategies, on the visions, right? So it's amazing in helping with that. And I've seen a lot of new tools are developed with translation. So I'm really excited where finally we can use AI-powered real-time translation tool and just put it on, and you can just immensely increase the scale of audience that you can connect with. That's I think these technology I really look forward to. And I think AI can also be an amazing tool to model different scenarios. So meaning like we have different possibilities. We have different like policy opinions or choices that we can throw into a system and kind of just test out how it might play out in human space, social, economic, political, whatever it may be, kind of scenario planning. Help us choose based on these simulations that what might be the best. But again, all of that good stories is really founded upon we have good data, we have inclusive data. I think we need a robust mechanism to track the fairness of how it's used, to build more inclusive data sets, to increase transparency, because when it's opaque, when the risk uncertainty comes in, and build really strong kind of a governance mechanism around this whole system to make sure it is built
Mhm.
for good.
Yes, yes, and going back to AI for good, there were like I it catch my attention. There was a group that it was Big Ocean, I think,
Mm,
and it was a group that people that
mm,
could not hear, and
mm.
the AI was helping them in a wow. It was incredible, and it is helping. And I was reading about AI too, and I was reading that if it is well implemented, it is organized, if it has rules, if it has the correct parameters, it helps better, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's an example where technology can help us to overcome our human barriers, where there's something perhaps we are passionate about, but we lack the capacity for it, and AI kind of pushes out of this capacity bondage, enable us to achieve. I keep thinking, what if we connect AI and VR? Like, what kind of tools
Oh,
we create with them together? Yeah,
that's a really
ethically, but
interesting thing.
right? Yeah. So, like, for
Yes.
example, people with phobia, people with like a fear, I don't know, fear of speaking in front of a large audience or fear of heights or whatever phobia, um, perhaps that these kind of simulations can help them overcome it with combined with kind of treatment therapies and being creative about it. So I think there's a whole potential around this area.
Yes, yes, you're right. It could be so helpful. We can
Mm,
imagine, but we have to do it in the right way, right?
I agree, Jose, absolutely.
Yes. So, Haoji, I'm passionate about decisions intelligence as a discipline for turning complex data into smarter decisions. How do you see DI and ethical AI governance working together to create a better, fairer system?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent question. I think it's right at the target of the kind of question we're asking about decision making and ethical impact and the governance around it. So if I understood correctly, decision intelligence is about optimizing decision making with data and AI. And ethical AI governance is about ensuring that those practices and decisions are responsible and accountable. So they really go hand in hand. It's kind of like the two sides of it's the two sides of both ends to keep it balanced, right? Um, so together they create better systems. Um, that I think one of the characters is that it's value driven. The very design of this kind of better system upholds human rights and social justice principles from the onset. It's at the very core of the design, the purpose that drives it, how it's used, the kind of data sets that's used to build it, and the whole framework around risk mitigation, assessment, testing, piloting, and how it's used. Um, so that's very important. A second point is about transparency and accountability that we have talked about earlier, ensuring that it's a good data being used and it is transparent about who uses it, how it's used, and then if we have issues, how do we go about it? Where is the issue that we can correct? So again, it's to make sure, at the end, tools serve people. So the people have a certain level of ownership and kind of control with the data, how because that's going to affect their decisions, like what kind of job they get, analytics and uh, what kind of loans or education. It's everywhere. So I think the people
Yeah.
have the right to know how the decisions are being made, right? And if it's not the right decision, then I think it goes to the third point, is about human oversight and redress. So meaning, as good as we make AI technology to be, it's not going to be 100%, foolproof. So at a certain time, there's going to bound to be some kind of error. So it's very important that we have these human oversight or frameworks in place where people, when they encounter issues, can go about to address them. To mitigate harmful decisions, there is an oversight where we can if we encounter issue, we override whatever decisions being produced and output from systems to make sure that people are served correctly. um, so I think that's very important as well, especially as AI system is being scaled, used for increasingly for different aspects of our human society. There is this human touch to it. Another one is continuous ethical adaptation, meaning
Uh-huh.
it's a tool that's always growing, right? So we're growing it with the people that we want to serve. It's about having inclusive feedback mechanisms that we include the voices from the most marginalized, the most underserved, the almost edge of the whole radar of public attention where people are. We got to bring them up. So that's the whole point of social justice. It's inclusive, it's human dignity, right? It's about human society as a whole. So when we design, it's very important we not so focus on those who are already in a position of advantage, that conversations happen in closed rooms or round tables, that people just feel good that we make a decision, but we have to include people. This is where the work is for. And often like the negative side impact is most felt by those who are the most marginalized. They are the most powerless when it comes to systemic injustice. So we have to build systems for them, include them from the start. So yeah, and I think the more confident we are, the more open we should be to changes, right? It's a continuous
Yeah.
process. So I think these are characters of a good governance, of better systems.
Yeah. And as you said, especially if we are talking about this kind of massive data, right? That it's not going to affect only one person or 10. It is going to affect to a big volume of people that deserves it, right? Maybe they deserve to raise their hand and say that that's not fair, that's not okay, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very important to have this kind of digital literacy. Uh, One thing is to know. But I think just the mass population, as we talked about earlier, we might use a tool, but we don't know how it's designed, or we're not educated so much about what is AI, what is the logic behind it, and just we cannot argue with something we don't know, right? So I think it has to be increasingly massively promoted as a digital literacy about what is AI, how it's used. If you encounter rights issue behind it, how can you go about to make your case? Who do you talk to? Um, yeah, so as any topic that's been growing in human progression, I think same education should go around with it.
Yes. So, Haoji, well, I'm with a lot of questions. Sorry about that. But
No, no worries.
Haji, less than 1% of AI tools today are built with marginalized or minority communities in mind. In your vision, what would truly inclusive AI looks like, I don't know, maybe in 5 years? And what would it take to get there?
Yeah, I think it's another excellent question. I think often we just get caught up in trends. We just go at it, whatever, is the hot topic. Everybody's on it. Everybody's working on AI. That's the thing. But I think it's very important that we do a vision mapping, that we, uh, especially something like so powerful as AI potentially, we have to pause and just to think, okay, what is the end goal we're building here? Because it's going to have existential impact on human society. So then we have the vision, we can go backward to track the steps where we need to build towards it, making sure we don't go somewhere else that's going to be too far down the road to correct it, and make a, I don't know, a dystopia. We want a utopia, not a dystopia, right? So yeah, I
Yes.
think I hope in 5 years or so in the future, um, that AI is not just fair by design. It's more proactive. It could be used as a proactive tool for good, for building equitable outcomes that empowers marginalized communities globally, where it can be a space because it's so pervasive, where it takes feedback, from marginalized community and bring to the center. It builds into the connective tissue that we talk about. We so desperately need for strategic alliances, for making inclusive decision making in governance. Because it is a communication tool. One of the tools, it can be so versatile. It is a communication tool. It really has the potential to bring in the whole spectrum of human society together around a joint, issue and topic. So I think that's my vision. I hope that we can fully harness the positive potential of AI, while mitigating the risks of the negative side of AI, to making sure it's not amplifying inequalities, that, and together we use it to build a human-centered and rights-based better systems. And so I think, yeah, that's my vision. And I think how to get there, we need a very strong ethical impact assessment from the beginning,
Yeah.
understand what we are dealing with, have mechanisms in place been reinforced those ethical guidelines. It's not just about one sector, it's really all sectors, all on board, because AI is going to be everywhere. Governance is related to technology, it's related to every sector that uses AI, it's related to education. We're talking about capacity building, digital literacy. So it's a whole human society. Are we equipped to handle AI? Are we fully aware of its risks? And if so, are we aware of how to address it? These kind of questions for the first thing that needs to happen. And I think also diverse talent and leadership, meaning that, we need people who are well versed in governance, technology, maybe psychology, humanities, grassroots background. We work with diversity, so we have diversity, right? To meet the diversity. It's also, we have lots of young people with creative ideas, innovation. It's about bringing all these beautiful talents cross board together and making something beautiful. And then we have cross-sectoral regulation frameworks. It's about the nitty-gritty, practices about AI. When we scale, how do we scale it correctly? How do we ensure feedbacks are going into where it needs to go? The coordination, right? The communications, all of that needs to be in place. And then we need significant funding for ethical AI or AI for social justice. Like my project, for example. So it's we talk a lot, and much can be said about the funding, the whole funding area, but I think the funding goes where attention go, right? When there's a war, funding goes to there. Funding goes to, and not to name where, but I think it's, for me, just the whole narrative of human rights, social justice. It needs to be more visible in a funding spectrum, where it's intentional margin in the national budget to go towards this kind of project. We hold a certain budget to it so that talents can go towards it, because a lot of good initiatives, they might not have the capacity to rescale even before they can do some impact. They don't have the money to go for it. So that's go without saying the significance of funding, especially when we're dealing with equality, going like for example, US, yes, lots of funding. It could be very easy to take on some project, but what about another country with an innovative idea that doesn't have much resources? So that's another inclusion or equity topic we can talk about. And I think global digital literacy is another point, but we already talked a lot about it. So yeah, I think these are necessary for it to happen. And I think it's very important to remember, at the end of the day, AI is not like a magical eraser that we used it, shoot, all the human problems are gone, right? It's not that.
Yeah.
It's
No,
it's what
you're
we right. I wish, but it's not that. It really is a projection of what's already within human, of what's already within the human society, of what put in and to make out of it, right? It's about the design and the use of AI that makes a difference. So I think it's a powerful tool that, again, we have to use it ethically, responsibly, with the people, for the people. I think ethical AI for social justice is not just like a hot topic now. Everybody's talking about it. Yeah, we go for it. It's really about, it's a legacy project, right? It's about making a better future for our future generation. It's going to carve the kind of world they were living, how their decisions are made, right? It's about, every opportunity in a human society, it could be potentially affected by this great technology that we're building. So, and I think that's the critical part of responsibility, that we all should be part of it.
Oh, that's really meaningful, really interesting. Thank you so much for that, Hao Ji.
Thank you.
So I know that this is not in the part of the interview, but tell us please about your projects, because they are really interesting.
Thank you so much. So the topic that I'm working on is going after social justice. I try to imagine, like, from a social justice perspective, what's the right question to ask, first of all, because that's gonna, make sure we're on the right track. So what's the right question to ask? What is the gap that we need, looking from the justice perspective? And then how do we go about it? So on the one hand, the project's vision is to investigate more fully, as much as we can, the potential risks behind AI technology in its design, development, and deployment in the justice, inclusion, and equity space. And then we find it, and we build ethical guidelines around it or recommendation, how to address them. And on the other hand, explores how AI can be leveraged for good as a powerful creative tool for justice. So there are 5 pillars. The project right now is at some inception phase, so some details could change as it evolves later on. But the idea is that there are 5 pillars. The first one is about ethical research and knowledge production, which is about the whole risk assessment and mitigation that we talked about, and build ethical guidelines around it to better equip the designers and those who are in the designing space and in the usage space of AI. And the second pillar is about capacity building and education. That's about, I love knowledge and I love knowledge sharing. I think resource knowledge sharing is such an important part of about enabling each other for joint impact. So it's a knowledge, you can understand as knowledge hub or resources tool where we publicly share good best practices and lessons learned about different AI for good topics, like, for example, human rights in AI design, or whatever, that the gap may be in digital literacy that's made available to both social justice practitioners and AI designers alike. So it's available to the public. And the third space, the pillar, is social justice pilot projects, where it's more focused on the concrete impacts, taking the first to the second pillars of all these tools and knowledge. Then we imagine what kind of pilot projects can we launch to use AI as a tool for building momentum for social justice. Maybe we can pick some specific social justice topics as a pilot launch, and then collaborating with sector leads, industry leads, to build that momentum, to build on what works, and have feedback. That's the idea of the third pillar. And the fourth pillar is about community engagement and empowerment. So this is very close to my heart. It's about ensuring that the voices and needs of affected communities are central to the entire AI development lifecycle. For example, we have dialogues and feedback exchange opportunities where we ensure these voices are, fed into AI design, into policy decisions, and also into advocacy that we make, which leads to the last pillar, is about advocacy and policy influence, which is to make policy briefs and campaigns to try to influence governance, regulation, and standard through regulations for ethical AI for social justice. So that's the vision. That's a whole ambitious vision of the project, which now is open globally, call for partnerships, because as good as a vision can be, it really needs people and resources to make it into reality. So I invite anyone who's interested to check it out. It's launched on and available. The concept note is on my page. You can find on LinkedIn. Anyone interested can contact me.
And congratulations for your projects, because they are really interesting, and I like to be part of it, please.
Absolutely, you're in. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Hao Ji, you could leave one sentence on a billboard seen by every AI developer and policymaker tomorrow, what would you say?
Yeah, it's going to be a very short one, but an important one. I would say, for the people, with the people.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it catches. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think it's a beautiful capture of the whole human-centered, inclusive approach, and it's really about the people. I think we have to always remind us what we are building it for. So that's the sentence.
Thank you. Thank you. Short one, but a really good one. And I
Thank you.
have to ask you one question that it keeps in my mind sometimes, and is, if you had right now a physical AI only for you,
Mm,
what would you like to say or do to this physical AI to help you improve? I don't know, something. What would it be?
mm, hmm. That's a good question.
Maybe
I
like a
think for me,
robot. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. I think hmm, given how precious, our resources are finite and everything, I'd like to be more efficient. So I would use the AI tool to help me to work on certain admin work, I don't know, scheduling, house cleaning, cooking. That's it's gonna save
Yeah,
me tremendous amount of
it
time.
could be a good one.
Planning for my holidays and trips, all these, the nitty-gritty things that I can offload of me and I can focus more on generating creative ideas and focus on, where most impacts are. So I think it's gonna be a tremendous help if AI can be for that.
That's a great use. So, Hao Ji, please share us about your projects, share about our audience where they can find you, social media and everything, please.
Thank you so much, Jose. So yeah, again, thank you for this tremendously valuable and fun opportunity to talk about my project, talk about our shared passion on AI, ethical AI for social justice. I invite anyone who's interested that they can find me on LinkedIn directly and reach out to me. I'm always open to have a conversation. And I regularly releases whatever updates on my LinkedIn, so you're welcome to check it out. And also, I encourage anyone who's interested in social justice and this topic to join our group, the Social Justice Hub. That's where our regularly share update, regularly share resources. It's a free open platform, and then we can build alliance system there to mutually help each other. So I look forward to staying in touch and create powerful work together. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course. So, thank you, Hao Ji, for not only sharing your knowledge, but challenges, challenging us to rethink how we build and govern AI systems. The future isn't just about the smarter machines, It's about fairer, it's about more human decisions. And you are always welcome to AI to the Sky, please, Haoji. Thank you
Thank you
so much
so
for your
much.
knowledge and your
Thank you,
time.
Jose. Thank you likewise. Thank you so much.
AI is evolving. Are you? Subscribe now or get left behind. AI to the Sky podcast.